And I'm going to introduce Martha Lang. Um, Dr. Lang is a philosopher, philosophical counseling consultant, and independent scholar who's taught philosophy at several colleges and universities. She's also worked as a workforce wellness resilience consultant, academic success coach, grants manager, elected soil and water conservation supervisor, Florida Bar Grievance Board investigator, and ethics consultant, summer camp designer and director, mediation and gentle yoga teacher, and an elementary school teacher. Martha has published several peer-reviewed articles and working on a book and additional writings while seeking a tenure-track position. For fun and further enrichment, Martha loves hiking, kayaking, the beach, and cooking, and music. Today, she'll talk to us on the topic Updated Practical Theory and Model of Well-Being from EARN, E-A-R-N, to Learn. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you so much, Sam, and thank you, everyone. This has been a wonderful conference. I'm glad to be here. Let's see, I'll bring my screen up. Okay, I just downloaded the Zoom for my for this and earlier today, and okay. Now it's not allowing me. Okay, just a second. All right. Share. Okay, everyone should now be able to see the first slide. Is that right? Okay, good. So the reason this is an update is I find it to be a necessary update from the EARN theory to the LEARN theory. And I've been working on the EARN theory for a long time. I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of this theory and model of well-being, which I do utilize in my practice. And with myself, and I analyze political situations and all kinds of things through it. I published the introduction to the EARN theory with the NPCA journal, the International Journal of Practical Philosophy, or Philosophy and Practice. And so I am glad that I haven't published the book yet, because this is a really important update. So the goals for the paper and presentation, first of all, defining well-being with an empirically informed theory. And along with that, as I mentioned, I'll be updating my original EARN theory of well-being, which was published in 2021, with additional essential criteria. And actually what's happened is, so EARN became LEARN while working with my clients. And just 4 days ago, I realized I've updated that even more. So you'll see. And then I'll share some practical guidance for using the LEARN theory. And certainly the methods that are outlined in Elliott's books, the LBT methods apply directly within the LEARN theory as well. So let's dive in. That's the Gulf of Mexico there. So why have a theory and model of well-being? Well, if the goal is well-being for our clients, for ourselves, for the world, then two necessary questions arise. First, what is well-being? What are the essential features of well-being? And how can well-being be analyzed, sort of ascertained, analyzed, and then cultivated? So it's helpful to reflect on the current, well, I say current, on the other theories of well-being that already exist. So, and these are outlined in my dissertation and also in Mike Bishop's book, which you see on the bottom right. So hedonism. Hedonism, as I'm sure you're aware, is a matter of just having as much pleasure as we can. And you see the first picture here, just, overconsumption. It's not really intuitively what well-being is, especially when others are harmed and we harm ourselves by overconsuming. Life satisfaction theory. So you see kind of the smug guy, like, oh, he's all satisfied, but that is compatible with harming others. And just because there's a life satisfaction doesn't mean that you're doing well. You could be satisfied while harming others. And often when other people have a habit of harming the community or other people, we don't look at them as well. We look at them as unwell, psychopathic, whether it's a dictator or otherwise. Informed desire satisfaction. So you see the guy holding the help sign. That was a response to life satisfaction, but it's not the case that having greater information about our desires and satisfying them will necessarily lead to well-being. Maybe someone becomes greater informed and decides that they want to be a tax accountant because they have the money in mind, but actually they're not happy, so they don't have well-being. Objective list criteria, we see that with Martha Nussbaum. She has a list of basic needs that should be available for everyone. It's an awesome list. I was working on a hybrid theory of well-being that includes that objective list and then adds the psychological well-being. And that becomes kind of complex. We could even look at the learned theory through that, but that's another point aside. Authentic happiness.
Could you change the slides? Because we still see the first slide only.
No way, what?
We haven't seen the others.
That is really bizarre. Why does it say that my screen is being paused? Why is that? Thank you for saying that, and I don't understand why it's paused. Let me just go out of here. Well, that is very.
You can't just click it manually to the next one, right?
It's on the next one.
Stuck?
Myself. Somehow it's saying that it's paused, and that. Okay. Wow.
Or you could maybe do without the slides. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Do you still see just the?
No, if working towards well-being is the goal,
Okay,
the two
good.
necessary questions are.
Okay, really strange. Somebody spoke about electromagnetic frequency yesterday. I'm convinced that mine is not compatible with most technology. Okay, good. Thank you, Maria. And okay. So can you see this now with the life set?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Hedonism, life satisfaction,
Yeah,
etc.
so now you see the pictures that go along with it. So and authentic happiness misses out on objective criteria. So someone could work towards being authentically happy and well, but maybe what they see as authenticity is really problematic because they're happy being in a cult where there's a lot of mind control, or authentically happy supporting a murderous dictator, right? Like we talked about before. So none of these theories of well-being are standing up to really crucial criticisms. Aristotelian flourishing, the main concern with that is it's called elitist. And it's not, even though Aristotle was a scientist, it's not science-based. So then that brings us to Michael Bishop's network theory of well-being, which is revolutionary because he brings in the philosophy and the science of well-being. So what he ends up with is a network theory. And that's, he takes this broad look at all these science that he comes up with, that he finds, mostly in positive psychology. And he sees this higher level pattern of the feedback loop, the positive causal network, positive emotions, positive attitudes leading to positive interactions in the world. And then that is well-being. And then this is the same slide, but wait, is Bishop's view acceptable? My view is that Bishop's view, while it's great, because he takes seriously the philosophy and the science of well-being, but it's still problematic. And that's because it misses out on ethics and it misses out on authenticity. So bringing in more science of well-being, as well as ecology, sociology, and more, we end up with the network theory of well-being revamped. How is it revamped? By adding the ethics and the authenticity. So some of these I'm going to go quickly through because I don't know if I'll get more time or if I will still be stopping. But so my theory of well-being became the holistically authentic positive causal network. And it's important because it informs the revamped version of EARN theory. Now, meanwhile, before the dissertation, and actually this was became my prospectus for the dissertation back in 2012. During the prospectus, a philosopher of science said that I needed, instead of having this hybrid theory with the objective list and the emotional stuff for well-being, he's like, it needs to be more elegant. So I really thought about it, and I came up with these 4 essential criteria. Ease, so this is physical and emotional ease, plus ease within our networks. Authenticity, this is where the ethics comes in because, and this is my quote unquote contribution to philosophy in my dissertation, holistic authenticity. So it combines the subjective authenticity where the person is acting in accordance generally with their own values, interests, judgments, and desires. And then the objective factors, the ethics and the information. We'll get into that a little bit more soon. And then the resilience, just persevering through life and the immune system working, and emotional resilience within our networks. And then the network. So it's our internal, personal, and external networks. Still looking at that as feedback loops. So for a while, I've been using the EARN theory, E-A-R-N, with my clients. I also call it MIR, just in case someone is triggered, like they don't want to feel like they have to earn their well-being. So also MIR, networked, easy, and authentic resilience. This works for in the moment or in general. So if someone is ill at ease, we can take steps to cultivate ease within and dive deeper. Is it based on something or someone in their external network, and so on. I won't spend too much time on this slide, but there's just a reiteration of the objective authenticity within holistic authenticity. That's more about this, what I've added to it, the science, the evolution of individuality, biology, eco-psychology, epistemology. Reiteration of the EARN-MIR theory. And it's also helpful to note that ease, authenticity, resilience, and the network, they all constrain and inform one another. So I'm going to feel more at ease with myself in the world if I'm able to live authentically. And if I can't live authentically because I can't afford an electric, not that I want a Tesla, but just certain factors come into play. And when we aren't as authentic as we like to be, sometimes we feel ill at ease, and that can be detrimental to our resilience. And it's understood within our network. Okay. Examples within practice, we can create a table to work with our clients to assess the degree of ease and their networks and all that sort of thing. And we can come back to this if there's time, but I'm just being aware of time that I have. So here are critiques of my own theory. What I have found over the years, it's too easy for people to overlook the depth of authenticity. People just see authenticity and they aren't necessarily diving deep enough. And I don't mean just my clients. I mean, with my clients, we talk about it, but out in the world, I notice people, like Trump, people say, oh, well, he's just being himself, his authentic self. But, and those people, the people who are applauding that aren't diving deeply either to look at authenticity in this holistic way, bringing in objective factors. Understandably, because it's not how we usually think of authenticity. But the important thing is that the EARN theory needs to better emphasize the ethics and the objective information requirement. Okay. I guess something else is just noticing with a lot of my clients, something that they express that isn't necessarily emphasized in the EARN theory. So what do I add? I add the L to EARN. So EARN becomes learn, which sounds much better. Let's learn to be well and just, not just earn it and not thinking it's just mere. And just adding love. It's so fundamental and it's kind of obvious, and it makes me just happy, more excited about the book as well, because it'll be the learn theory. And then the other day I was thinking, I still need the ethics and the epistemology, the information. So I came up with how, learn how, adding holistic inquiry and also objective morality as opposed to egoism. And then wisdom seeking. Ideally, this will be worldwide, and that's how it relates to justice. So this theory and model works not only for individual clients, but also friendships, small groups, large groups, cities, states, and nations. It did also with EARN when we had holistic authenticity, but now with the learn how, where the holistic authenticity is illuminated by the holistic inquiry and the objective morality. What do I mean by love? I like Solomon's definition here. Love is mutual respect and admiration. Love is the insistence on mutual independence and autonomy, free from possessiveness. Love is unqualified acceptance of the other's welfare and happiness as one's own. There's a little typo omission there. But just caring about others, caring about ourselves too, because remember, it's still internal and external. Tiberius writes that love entails a reflected motive to invest in each other's well-being that brings mutual care. So in my interpretation, self-love is a reflective motive to invest in one's own well-being in a spirit of care. A little bit about holistic inquiry. That drawing I made probably 14 years ago for presentation. I still use it. I should make it look better, but it makes me smile. But so in the center, what we're inquiring about, we could also put the self, the person, the client, and then bringing in epistemology, ethics and values, logic and math. This LBT would include the logic and also the ethics and values, the sciences, metaphysics, religion, spirituality, business and economics, phenomenology, public policies, culture, traditions, all of that to have, doesn't mean that we have to engage in such holistic inquiry every time we have a session. No, of course not. It's always catered to what the client needs in the moment. And then the books, various resources. This book, Humanity, goes really well with Florence talk. Moral history of the 20th century. We see, the book is just excellent. I've taught it in my social justice classes. We just see all kinds of patterns historically, and we see the same things happening now with problematic situations in the world. And then in terms of the objective morality, what I have in mind is a sort of pragmatic pluralism, where we can bring in the three big moral theories: deontology, virtue ethics, rule utilitarianism, and also appeal to that which the client prefers, right? Maybe a Christian, Buddhist ethics, but there is so much commonality, and the main idea is going to be taking good care of ourselves and other humans, not harming. The wisdom seeking worldwide, wonder, investigate, analyze, ongoing process, avoiding perfectionism. So brings us back to the model. So we went from just a simple earn theory, EARN, to learn. And with clients, it's possible I'll just focus on the learn part and not necessarily bring in the how part unless it's needed. Some clients want to talk about objective morality. Some don't need to do that. If someone is experiencing major anxiety, we don't have to necessarily go beyond the learn part, but the self-love is going to be helpful, most likely. And with each of the aspects, it's about the degree of love of self and others, the degree of ease. Just asking the clients how they feel. If there's a lack of ease, we can explore that further. Is it lack of physical ease, or is there pain? Is it are there ruminations? Reflecting on their degree of authenticity, the sufficiency and quality of the networks, and whether or not those networks internally and beyond support the other aspects of well-being. Okay, when it comes to justice, this is more so where the holistic inquiry, objective morality are gonna come into play. Although I guess I don't mean more so, it's just we'll have to really emphasize those though. So political frameworks should exemplify love and care for all citizens, should promote ease of access to basic needs, housing, food, healthcare, education, promoting individuals' integrity, promoting sustainable practices and good health that will support resilience. And the network is very descriptive. So I'm just mapping out the network, the people, communities, the land, the water, clean air. And ideally, public policies would have reasonable holistic epistemology, taking seriously science, including sociology, and social psychology. And we can have plurality of moral theories too. And within the wisdom aspect, should have wise public policies, and there should be better deliberative debate and discussion, which is largely missing from a lot of political discourse. Okay, just wanted to stay within the time. So, and I like this final statement. Let's learn how to be well and just together, promoting well-being for ourselves, our clients, our loved ones, our communities. And with that, I think that's necessary for promoting justice as well. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Martha. That's an excellent presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we have a bit of time for questions.
I really like the way you integrate the other aspects that you talk about, the learn aspects in a systems approach, a network approach. And in traditional family systems, there's an area, cybernetics, which involves feedback loops and stuff. I'm wondering if you utilize, that dimension of it, in your practice.
Yeah, so with and that's what Bishop does as well, the feedback loops, the homeostatic feedback loops for robust well-being. So definitely mapping it out that way and seeing the patterns that emerge. And similarly with logic-based therapy, where you present the modus ponens, the equation, you can also map out the feedback loop, and then the client can reflect on that, or you can ask them to map out the feedback loop. So yes, it's very helpful, and it goes so well with the network theory and model.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Martha, what kind of issues do clients bring to you?
Well, issues with family. I'm thinking of a recent client who had many diagnoses, and of course there's a disclaimer that my services don't replace seeing her psychotherapist and everything, but she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and also has physical pain from an injury, a back injury, lots of anxiety. It's just really very stuck. So I learned so much from this client by looking into borderline personality disorder, and then the authenticity aspect, the earn theory, really helped us to explore that, so she could get into touch with her true self and stop, I guess, pretending to be someone she's not. She had been involved in violence in the past, and so she was needing to move far beyond that, wanting to move beyond far beyond that. Another client was he had an issue, a disagreement with his wife, and like something that the last presenter mentioned, Ines, the conceptual dilemma. So they had a conceptual dilemma about friendship, actually. And he wanted to continue hanging out with someone, and she was opposed to that. And so I helped them find common ground. It wasn't couples counseling, just talking with him, and he would bring the information back to her, and then he said, oh, well, she's accepted this new definition of this person. It was about creating boundaries. So her network was, there was a lack of ease in their network as a couple because he wanted to maintain ease with the network, with that friendship. She felt like that other person wasn't good for her or for the husband. So it was a matter of reconceptualizing that friendship, so that it was like, oh, it's not going to be a good friend necessarily, like I'm not going to share everything with him. There are boundaries. He's more of an athletic partner, someone to do a particular activity with. So that was helpful. bringing in their own theory there. And then actually that same client, he wants to explore objectivity, objective truth, objective morality. So I told him that I would work on something. I think that would be good for like some group discussion, not just the two of us talking. Although I could reach out and say, hey, you want to just talk with me about this, but I just need to get organized to offer that. I want to offer like programs like you see in Coursera and whatnot. I need to get beyond my own constipation about all the tech stuff and the organizing of the emails and whatnot. Just it's a lot just by myself. So I need to expand. And bereavement. My newest client is actually is going through a lot of grief right now. And she wanted to practice, she was really open to practicing chakra meditation that I love to provide. Yeah, so that's, I need to figure out other ways to help her through that, because there's so much grief that it's difficult for her to focus in a way that's neat. And letting go, you can't expect someone to just let go. But so bereavement and anxiety and depression.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, reflections?
I have a question. You spoke about, so you look at it as a network, and a network needs connections, and those connections, I see them as active connections. I wanted to ask you, how do you maintain these connections from the network? Are they, yes, or are they flexible? Are they vulnerable? Or do they evolve?
I would say all of the above. They are flexible to a certain extent. They do evolve and they are vulnerable. And I think that goes for our internal networks too, in terms of, our physical bodies are a network in and of themselves. There's the neural network and the network within our bodies, and we are vulnerable. So thank goodness we have our immune system. And everything we put into our bodies, or the food that we're eating, is going to affect for better or for worse. And then with our friendships, they can be very vulnerable. I'm thinking of two good friends that I've had whose husbands became Trumpsters, and so now there's a lot of they were vulnerable to those conditions. And so there's flexibility there where I say, okay, well, I will, I still love those individuals, but I have to have boundaries for myself and maybe not spend time with their husbands, given that situation, with the political aspect. And within our communities, yeah, I think we have to safeguard against vulnerabilities. And one way to do that is through cultivating trust, being our authentic selves, having those general moral standards, living up to them helps to safeguard against the networks deteriorating. And I think if we had more sustainable, wise public policies too, then we could safeguard people individually and safeguard communities and networks too. But we have to be open to things changing, whether it's climate change or otherwise. And resilience helps us to ride those waves of change, as it were. Resilience and reaching out to our networks. We've got to take care of them, not ignore them, but just reaching out, letting people know that we love them and care about them. But also having boundaries to protect ourselves as needed. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. And another thing that I'm curious about, I also studied a little bit the well-being, but in the scope of children's well-being, and I started with ancient philosophy, with Aristotelian flourishing. And you said that that's not science-based, and I also have seen that you really read a lot of, you have a lot of bibliography, and you started your research a long time ago. I wanted to know whether there are some science writings that somehow support or at least support part of Aristotelian flourishing, part of his ideas, or whether you know something about it.
Well, I would say that the handbook of the virtues, since Aristotle's eudaimonia is so based on virtues and the virtue ethics, this book is full of studies in positive psychology. So the idea that we should be seeking wisdom and engaging in objective thought. Those things are emphasized here. And the epistemology and the psychology of human judgment by Mike Bishop, he appeals strongly to the Aristotelian principle that in the long run, better reasoning leads to better outcomes. So his approach is strategic reliabilism. I would say that that's an important part of objective and holistic epistemology, but we need a little bit more. We need to also bring in phenomenology and take seriously the importance of creativity in the arts instead of just staunch strategic epistemology and science, also making it more holistic with the arts in that way. Yeah, I mean, I like looking at the connection between the emotions and science, so like this molecules of emotion. So better, more optimal health through wellness and ease and benevolence as opposed to stress and hate. Those things, with those ideas, support Aristotle's emphasis on benevolence and courage. And there are, I know at FSU, Florida State, there's some emerging research on courage for well-being, which Aristotle also emphasizes. Can't think of the scientist's name right now, but.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have a little more time. Okay. The session is officially over. And in terms of a break now, we could stop now and meet back here at 4:30. It's a little, be 15 extra minutes, but is that agreeable to everyone?
Sure.